Hello again everybody, I'm Scott Lyons, this is S Lyons Photography. I've got a great 4 styles edit for you this evening, so sit tight and we'll see what images we can get out. So the image I've got here I took at Padley Gorge at the weekend. If you've not seen the video yet that I posted last night, I'll drop a link down in the description. A great time with everyone. Getting out, Padley Gorge is just a beautiful place, and you can just see by this image that I've got on the screen right now, the autumn colours at the moment were excellent, and it was really great meeting up with some fellow members of the Twitter community, Lee, Tracy and Chris. Peter along for the ride as well, but unfortunately not on Twitter. So without further ado, we'll get started on the first edit. So this tree that I found, I'll give a little talk about it first. Came around a corner off the path after having an excellent breakfast at the station cafe, and what really stood out was this tall tree, the roots coming out and the branches with the beautiful foliage of those wonderful autumn yellows in the sky, and the leaves on the bottom that have turned a nice bright orange and fallen to the floor. So a natural thing to do, I was going to post this as part of the video, but then I thought, no, this might be fun, a bit of nature, a bit of 4 styles editing. Some of them might be a bit strange because it's a very autumnal photo, but let's see what we can get out of this. So image number 1. Tell you what, might go for like a kind of Sleepy Hollow kind of look. I really like those intertwining branches. I say Sleepy Hollow, we're just going to go horror. As for the image itself, quite an overcast morning. We've got skies coming through. I could have messed around with an ND filter, but I'm not too fond. I like taking handheld, get the shot quickly. Let's go contrast up, and let's actually take those highlights up a little bit. Shadows are going to come down. Might have gone too blue, I think. I want it cold, but not that cold. And the exposure. Let's go the other way. Let's get the exposure up, and let's get the highlights a bit down. We'll try and bring up some of the skies. I don't want to go too far because we're just going to get that banding again, with the haloing effect around the leaves and everything. Whites, same again. Actually, they can come down. Contrast can come back down. Jumping in a bit too fast, not solving some of the problems that I've got in the image. So a D haze, I'm actually going to put haze in because I want to give it that kind of hazy look, hazy effect on this first one, and the vibrance is, so I'm going to put the vibrance right up at the moment. I might come back to that, we'll see, and then I'm just going to flatten the image quite drastically. That's going to give us this fog effect. So crushing those highlights, crushing those blacks. Let's bring those blacks back in just a little bit and lengthen that out. So where are we? Now you're going to probably think this is crazy because this is what's great about the image, but the first one I kind of do want to go the cooler side, darker side, and we'll probably bring more of the warmer colours out in the second one. So greens, goodbye, yellows, similar thing. We're just going to mute all of these colours, and I want to get that kind of dark and forest look. And the greens I'm actually going to push more towards the yellows, and then anything we've got left, so aquas and blues, can come out. Maybe not too much actually. I didn't like them in there. I just didn't want them. I think I don't want to do a black and white image for sure. Or actually, I'm going to push those reds back up again and turn the reds into reds. So as it stands, let's get some of that more moody vibes in there. We can probably put a little bit more blue in. Not too much. Just blend that down a little bit. highlights wise, I want a red. So like I say, I want to go for this kind of really dark, twisted, gnarly forest feel. Give it the feeling of a forest that you do not want to walk in. Even though it's a really pretty forest, then you should definitely walk in it. Now, what's my issues with this? So I think that can come up a little bit. I think we've just lost a little bit of definition, so I'm going to put in a quick gradient on the floor there. Just bring that exposure just a touch. Not much, but just enough to bring out some of this foreground again. So there we go. I think we'll leave it there. Let's have a look at the before. This wonderful, beautiful autumn scene, and then I've decimated it. It's about standard, so I'm quite happy with that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you like it? Do you not like it? And we'll go from there. So let's get on to image number 2. And usually image number 2 we push for the warmer colours. It's already quite a warm colour, but we're gonna really play on that. So you can see as soon as I bring up that temperature, that is really coming out. Exposure, we want that up. This is gonna be almost like a reverse of the other one. This is a nice autumn day. Highlights and contrasts. Contrast. Let's boost that contrast a little bit. Give us a bit more, so as we flatten it, I think we lose a bit of the depth. So if you look at these trees here, as soon as we bump the contrast up, they become a lot more like a nice path. And as I look at that, I'm regretting not taking a photo of this tree and these trees down here. So maybe one for the bucket list for next time. Highlights down a touch, shadows. Lift it a little bit, so our contrast I think has got most of that for us. Blacks, let's just get them down a bit. Vibrance and saturation. So as much as I tempted to go high on the saturation, it's not doing it for me. Vibrance wise though, let's bring those colours out. Clarity, I'm not going to do too much in there. And where do we want to go with this? Let's actually put those shadows and put a little bit more yellow into them. No, actually I'm not enjoying that, and I do like that touch of blue in there. We'll leave the yellows for the highlights. Yeah, I think that's a bit more like it. And putting in a mini S-curve. So if there's something you've probably seen about my images by now, I do like crushing blacks and highlights quite a lot and quite drastically. It does depend on the subject, but it's usually going to happen at some point. Now greens. For me, the greens are there in the image, and I think I do want to bring them out and use them. It's very tempting to go bright, but I think I want to go dark. I kind of want to have a balance in the image. I kind of get brightness over this side, get darkness over to the left, and the greens are doing that for me. We'll push them a little bit more towards the green, but not much. And the yellows. So there's a lot of yellows in those greens. And let's bring those down a touch. So I'm trying to get the foreground out. And I'm not going to push them too. Oranges can come. No, I think I like the oranges where they are, but saturation wise, just gonna knock them down a little bit. And reds can go towards the orange ever so slightly. Just darken, I'll reduce the saturation in them as well, and reduce the luminance in the reds as well. Gonna leave color graded on this one, so it's not too far removed. Let's have a look at the before. So there's the before, the raw file, quite dark, and this is the after. Quite like that one. So let's go on to image number 3. What craziness can I do to this image today? So I think I'll leave the temperature where it is. Let's get my exposure up. Actually, Actually, well, before we go too much, let's try and bring a linear gradient in for that sky. No, I can't get too much back because, as you can see anyway, I've lost the sky. So I could have had that with an ND filter on the day, but it's not where my concerns lie too much. Okay, done on that. So then I'm going to bring that exposure back in again, and that's more so there's a balance between the branches and the floor here, so I can kind of bring out more of the floor, and that's what I really want. Contrast can go up, highlights. Yeah, let's go highlights down. So I think I'm going to do similar to what I did with the first image, with the blue image. We're going to have quite a crushed image. Blacks. Actually, I wonder how far we can go with. So ignoring those highlights. So this is me trying something a bit more fun. So basically, I take the highlights, pick them up as much as possible. Shadows, I take those down without losing too much detail. So you can see where it's clipping. I'm not too worried about blacks in the image, but I kind of want to go down a little bit. And this will explain it in a minute of having these wild abstractions. And clarity and texture, I'm actually going to bring the clarity down a little bit. And we're going to really flatten the image. So I'm pushing the contrast between the colours, but then I'm going to flatten the shadows and highlights. So hopefully we're just going to bring out more oranges in this image. There we go. Now where's that gradient gone? I want to bring that down a little bit further. Now we're going to have a new brush. It's going to go to up a bit, so I'm just going to paint. That's my flow not too high. Cool, and I'm just going to paint the branches of this tree a little bit. And I want this tree to really be brighter. This is very rough. Some of these rocks, a little bit on the one in the back. So this is similar to the last image. I'm just trying to create a sense that this tree's lighter against the dark of the sky, against the dark of the front. It may not work, it may work. Weirdly, I don't think I've ever done a fossil image that I've looked at and really not liked. My viewers might disagree, so that would be interesting to hear. If there's anything I've done that you've gone, no, that is disgusting. How could he do that? But there's a time for everything. I think I'm enjoying where this is going. So we're taking those saturations out a little bit. Reds can go towards orange. They can actually come up a little bit. And I think even though it's taking the saturation down, the brightness, luminance of those can go up. And then let's just get those highlights a little bit more orange. And putting in the tiniest bit of blue just to offset in the shadows. Now, the final one, I wanted to crank noise reduction all the way up, and this is probably like usually a big no-no because it will merge everything, but I kind of want to give it that really flattened look, very creamy. I'm not too sure I'm happy with how it's gone in this one, so we're going to bring it down. I do want it a little bit. And it's just to smooth the image out a little bit. Kind of give it I'd say a painted effect, but that's just me. Okay, I think I'm done. So here's the before, here's the after. As usual, let me know what you think. And if you really like what I'm doing, please remember to subscribe. And please remember to hit the like button. Do love the likes. So, black and white. Does this work as a black and white image? We will find out. The good thing is that sky's just going to be white anyway, so I don't have to worry about highlights. Contrast, I think we're going to have the same. The contrast is this image. Now highlights can come down, shadows, yep. So while I'm doing this, like, really do tell me what you think in the comments. If there's something I'm doing that is really bad, really wrong, let me know. How would you do it differently? I'd love to hear feedback on what you think. Okay. Similar again. Crush goes down. Now there's a lot going on. Because this has gone into black and white, it's almost kind of got lost in itself. So I'm hoping what I can do is play with these oranges and kind of bring some of that detail back. And the yellows in the trees, if you remember. So once again, we can bring them back. But the greens we can lift as these little spikes dotted around the place. Likewise reds. There's not too much red in there. Shadows up. I think I'm going to put a very quick brush, same settings, exposure just up a little bit, and just lift that tree again. That's kind of what I wanted to do, is try and lift that first and foremost. There we go. And do I want to put a little bit of colour? Let's actually go for like a bit more of a sepia feel inside those shadows. Put a bit of green inside our highlights. So there we go. Personally, I think this one looks a little bit on the... it's too busy for black and white. So I probably wouldn't usually do this as a black and white, but let me know if it works. Let me know what you think. And let's have a look at the before. Okay, there's before, there's after. So as always, thank you for watching today. I'll put the finished images on the screen now. Let me know what you think, give me some comments, give me some feedback. I love every single bit of information I get on these. And I'll see you next week, hopefully, for another 4 Stars edit. See you later on.